Before sharing a story this detailed, it's important to gently clarify something. There is no verified public report that Nancy Guthrie left behind such a letter under tragic circumstances, nor that a disappearance and criminal investigation unfolded as described. Savannah Guthrie has spoken lovingly about her mother in public over the years, but no confirmed event like the one described here has taken place. Because real families are involved, we must approach stories like this with care. So what follows is not a report of an actual crime or confirmed tragedy, but a reflective human portrait inspired by the themes in your text: faith, motherhood, resilience, regret, and legacy. Rather than amplifying unverified harm, we'll focus on the emotional truth at the heart of it. What a mother might want her daughter to know when time grows short, and what kind of life leaves behind words worth remembering. A letter written in the quiet hours. Imagine a February morning before sunrise. The house is still. The air carries that desert chill Tucson knows so well before the sun warms the mountains. At a simple wooden desk, an elderly woman pauses before putting pen to paper. She has spent decades being the strong one, steady in grief, composed in uncertainty, generous in love. Now, in the privacy of her own home, she allows herself to be unguarded. The letter is not dramatic. It is not written for headlines. It is written because sometimes truth waits until later in life to rise gently to the surface. In it, she admits something many mothers never say aloud, that strength and fear often lived side by side inside her, that she carried burdens quietly, not because she was unbreakable, but because she believed that was her role. Kentucky roots and a Midwestern beginning, Nancy Ellen Long's story began far from the desert in Fort Wright, Kentucky in 1942. The war years shaped her earliest memories: ration cards, community gatherings, church bells ringing with a solemn steadiness. Northern Kentucky in the 1940s and 50s was a place where neighbors knew each other's names, and Sunday Mass was not optional but foundational. At schools like Notre Dame Academy, discipline and education were intertwined. She grew up in a world that emphasized service, humility, and perseverance. Teachers expected excellence. Families expected responsibility. Dreams were encouraged, but practicality always walked beside them. These early lessons carved something durable into her character. Faith was not ornamental, it was structural. Work ethic was not praised loudly, it was assumed. And those expectations would later shape the way she raised her own children, with love, yes, but also with a firm belief in resilience. Finding her voice in journalism. When she enrolled at the University of Kentucky in the early 1960s, Nancy entered a world beginning to shift. More women were pursuing higher education, yet traditional expectations still hovered nearby. She chose journalism, drawn to the way words could preserve memory and illuminate ordinary lives. Writing for the campus newspaper gave her confidence. She learned how to observe closely, how to listen, how to tell a story without overshadowing it. Those skills would stay with her long after she left the newsroom. They shaped how she communicated with her children, carefully, thoughtfully, sometimes with precision that felt almost editorial. Journalism taught her to weigh language. Motherhood later taught her that some truths are better softened. Balancing the two became one of the quiet tensions of her life: love, marriage, and building a family. In 1963, she married Charles Guthrie, beginning a partnership built on shared ambition and deep faith. His engineering career led them across states and eventually abroad, including time in Australia. It was there, in 1971, that their youngest daughter, Savannah, was born. 2 years later, the family settled in Tucson, Arizona, embracing the wide skies and desert stillness. Their burnt adobe home became a place of laughter, homework at the kitchen table, and evening conversations about school and dreams. Nancy poured herself into raising her children. She volunteered, organized church events, and made sure education was taken seriously. She believed discipline was a form of love. She believed high standards prepared children for an unpredictable world. And in many ways, she was right. But even strong convictions leave room for reflection later in life. Grief that reshaped everything. In 1988, when Charles died unexpectedly at 49, Nancy's life divided into before and after. Suddenly, she was a widow with 3 teenagers watching her for cues on how to survive heartbreak. She chose composure. She chose forward motion. She returned to work in public relations at the University of Arizona, providing stability and educational opportunity for her children. Friends admired her steadiness. They saw a woman who refused to crumble. What they did not always see were the nights when grief sat heavily beside her. In her imagined letter, she admits that she sometimes confused endurance with healing, that she pressed forward because stopping felt impossible. It was not that she lacked emotion, it was that she feared what might happen if she allowed it to spill over. A mother watching her daughter rise. As Savannah's career grew from local stations to national prominence on Today, Nancy watched with pride. She celebrated milestones quietly but wholeheartedly. She clipped articles, she saved recordings, she attended events when her health allowed. Yet even pride can coexist with worry. A mother may ask hard questions not to criticize, but to ensure her child is steady. In later reflections, Nancy wonders if her high standards sometimes felt like pressure. She never intended to make love feel conditional. She believed she was equipping her daughter with armor. Only with age did she question whether armor, worn too long, becomes heavy. Her letter becomes less about apology and more about acknowledgment, that love can be firm and still imperfect, that guidance can occasionally wound even when meant to protect. Health, aging, and quiet reflection. In her later years, health challenges slowed her pace. A pacemaker, medication schedules, limited mobility, these were humbling adjustments for a woman who had always been capable. Living alone in the Catalina foothills meant relying more on faith and community. Photographs filled her walls, grandchildren's drawings, wedding portraits, desert sunsets. Aging invites a particular kind of honesty. The body weakens, but memory sharpens. In her letter, she confesses fears she rarely voiced, financial anxieties after widowhood, doubts about whether she had been too hard on herself, regrets about dreams postponed. She does not regret motherhood. She regrets only the moments she forgot to extend to herself, the gentleness she offered others. That recognition becomes her quiet wisdom. What she wanted her daughter to know. The heart of the letter rests in a simple message: you were always enough. She tells Savannah that strength is admirable, but tenderness is sacred, that faith carried her through decades of uncertainty, that integrity matters more than public applause. She expresses gratitude for the friendship that blossomed alongside motherhood in later years. She writes about her grandchildren with particular joy, describing them as proof that love multiplies beyond our imagining. If these words were ever to serve as a farewell, she hopes to be remembered not as unbreakable, but as faithful, not as flawless, but as devoted. She reminds her daughter that surviving life's storms with kindness intact may be the truest definition of success. Legacy beyond headlines. When we strip away speculation and dramatization, what remains is a universal truth. Every life leaves behind unfinished sentences, lessons learned late, love that deepens in hindsight. Nancy's imagined letter resonates not because of tragedy, but because it reflects something recognizable, the desire to be understood fully by those we love most. Her legacy, like so many mothers, lives in habits passed down: discipline, faith, resilience, storytelling. From Kentucky beginnings to Arizona sunsets, her story becomes less about public attention and more about private impact. And perhaps that is the real inheritance she intended to leave: the courage to be strong, yes, but also the freedom to be human.